You know, it's important every now and again to get outside, get some fresh air. It's nice and cool out here, got a gentle breeze, and holy crap, that sunset, although I'm sure it's blaring out the camera. It's a nice thing about the Kalahari, if you need to step out and get a, breath of cool air that doesn't smell like a several thousand otaku, a bunch of grass you can sit on. It's pretty nice. Hello and welcome to Maison Otaku. Come in, have a seat, all that jazz. Yeah, so it was another crazy year at ColossalCon. Dante fought Link, the Mystery Machine showed up, probably looking for Sly Cooper, usual stuff. Yeah, it was pretty jam-packed this week. Well, of course, we had my cousin and, a bunch of my cousins and their friend, and thankfully that's all we had crammed into the room. But speaking of the room, there were some issues with that this year, and it seems like it's going to happen again next year. I'll get into that, but let's just say, well, I haven't looked at the exact figures, but I have it on good authority that attendance was well above 15,000 this year, so it just kind of keeps growing and growing. But for a more detailed explanation of what we had to deal with, I go live to me. Alright, so just arrived at a room a little bit ago. So we kind of got screwed out of the Kalahari because it sold out in, what was it, January?
No, before January.
Oh, it was December already.
Last year.
Yep. So we're here at the Fairfield Inn. Not bad for what it is, to be honest.
Keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, it's no Kalahari, but the important thing is they're letting us register for next year this year, so we will not have that problem. But the important thing is plenty of floor space to fill with roommates and garbage, both of which we will eventually clean up. So naturally, you can also expect that when we got to the con, it was, well, take a look. Hi there, Mike here reporting to you live from ColossalCon. I'm here with Mike and also Mike, and I'm sure there are a few other mics in line. But just gonna walk you down the line really quick, see what we got going on here. So we're all the way back here, and Reg is, well, somewhere in Nebraska near as I can tell. Little ways down yet. Still going. Still going. This actually isn't as bad as it is some years. And there it is. So, our journey begins. So, as always, gotta go over the scores. It's always the big thing. Actually didn't buy all that much at the con, which is a good thing because through some personal issues, I didn't have anywhere near as much money as I wanted to, but I won't even go into that. But, like I said, kind of all balanced out. Especially didn't buy much in the actual dealer's room. Most of my money went towards the Otaku flea market, but that's how it goes some years. So, started off, got some proto-culture addicts. A little pricier than I usually see them, but to be honest, it's still not unreasonable. So I just grabbed, okay, we got Giant Robo, the Cockpit, Pat Labor, and, oh yeah, the cover is Wings of Oniami, so I got it because it was a Macross 2 issue, so I'm like, what the heck, I haven't bought much, grab these. Then, something I actually got the last day, this is pretty cool. I can't technically use it yet because I don't have a smartphone, but let's see, what the heck are these things called? The Hako Vision. Now, a lot of what these things are used for is Hatsune Miku stuff, but they decided to make Gundam ones. Basically, it's a colorless piece of plastic inside this box, and you get an app for your smartphone that, like, projects, you know, light and motion onto it, so it's kind of a hologram type deal. But these are pretty affordable, actually, so I'm like, yeah, what the heck, I'll probably get a smartphone eventually. So, worth it for that. Talking about Gundam, though, finally got my Master Grade X Gundam. I am so freaking pumped to put this together. The sheer articulation on this thing, like, look at that knee articulation. Or in the foot, or in the shoulder, or just every freaking thing you can do with this. This is really, like, just going through it, one of the better looking Master Grades I've seen. So this is going to be fun. I also picked up some cheap action bases to go with this, so we'll see what I can do with that. But the important thing is I now have Master Grades of my two favorite Gundams, the GX9900 and the GP03. Honestly, I think that's about it for the dealer's room stuff. I mean, I got some, well, actually, I got some more Arctoon stuff. They still own my soul. Had to get this, though. I don't know how well you can see this. This is actually an Akira commemorative pin from all the way back in 1988 in Japan. So, and they gave me a sweet deal on this, as they always do. So I'm like, yeah, I gotta get that. Got some more cells, of course, but most of those I just hucked on the pile. Really nice Macross 2 one. I'll show you once I get it. But this one right here, I picked up giant cell, marked 35 bucks, and to be honest, it's they gave me a deal as usual, but they didn't know what this was from, and like I couldn't quite place it either. The funny thing is, my first guess was actually right, but it turns out it's from Zeoraimer. Not particularly great anime, but you know, pretty good artwork as you can see. But giant oversized cell, always nice to have. But on to some of the Otaku flea market stuff. I got, well, as always, I bought, you know, this is just one of them, you know, several Ronin Warriors. Every time I've ever bought one of these used, they always come in Ziploc bags. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good idea, because they have all the little parts, but that's just kind of something funny with that. This is funny. This is actually a crazy horror manga. Dude only wanted, like, $1 for it, but the funny thing is, where's it? They're like, here, I'll throw this in for free. So I'm like, okay. So that makes it the third or fourth figure I've gotten for free at the anime, or at the Otaku flea market. So works out. Then some more manga. These are both in Japanese, but I got Leiji Matsumoto's Hard Metal. This is the manga that the anthology movie The Cockpit is based off of. And, of course, you know, there's a bunch more stories in here. I mean, yeah, I'd be stupid not to get this one again. I think they only wanted $1 for it. Another thing like that, Zeta Gundam, was it Side Story of Gundam? So I'm like, for, you know, obscure Japanese Zeta Gundam manga. Not much else. I did get this really old Ideon kit for like $5. This was, let's see, what's the scale on this? 1/600th scale. So it's actually pretty sizable, and despite you know, it not being your typical Gundam kit, there actually is a fair amount of articulation in this. So looking forward to putting this guy together. A lot more paint involved than other stuff, but for something like this, I don't mind that at all. But yeah, that's, you know, my basic haul. There was some other, like, less interesting stuff I didn't show you, but that was mostly it. Well, actually, bit of a segue here. There's some other stuff I kind of sort of got, that goes along with our next segment. So now I gotta talk about some of the guests. Most of the guests wasn't too terribly interested in, at least not the, you know, regular guests. One I was very excited to see there was Steve Bloom, who I think needs no introduction, but just in case he does, voice of Spike Spiegel, most famous role. So if you don't know that, you don't know who he is. But yeah, I finally got my picture taken with him here, so I can add that to the wall. But the most important thing is I can add him to the list of people I've had sign really obscure stuff. So, of course, I got his autograph, so I got my Cowboy Bebop remix DVD sign. Of course, he had to write "bang" in there. That just... the next one. Got my copy of Omega Boost signed by him. He actually performed in some of the live-action cut sequences in this. And it's, well, take a look.
Wetware is online, C-scan background in nominal, systems 367 and data Foxtrot jacked in. Okay, your hat.
Want a souvenir?
Marilyn's autograph. Got visual.
Coming through. But I'm going in the year before her first picture.
Then I'll take a Norma G.
Roger that.
I'm not picky.
You're a prince.
Hey man, did you pack extra socks?
Yeah, and the family Christmas picture. Control Omega Boost is ready to walk this bad dog.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, I'm talking to him about this, and he said, yeah, it's funny. Everyone brings this up, and I always see it in my Internet Movie Database, whatever it is. But I do not remember doing this. So furthers my suspicion that all the cutscenes in this were filmed on like an afternoon in some warehouse somewhere. But still awesome. And of course, finally got a copy of Macross 2 signed by him, right above Fef's head. He, of course, did the voice of Fef. Going along with this, though, I actually managed to secure an exclusive interview with him. How's it going?
Very well. How you do?
I've been following your work for most of your career, so I'm actually going to ask you a question you probably don't get a lot. What was it like working for U.S. Renditions?
Oh, that was the very beginning of my career. For those of you who don't know U.S. Renditions, Yutaka Maseba, Kevin Seymour, who's no longer with us, very sadly passed away a year and a half, 2 years ago.
That was somewhere around there.
Yeah, Magnitude 8, Studio Magnitude 8, and Les Claypool, these guys, Robert Napton, we all got together and started recording shows called The Guyver, Orgus, so many.
Macross 2 is,
Macross
Lord
2.
Fef is one of my favorite of your roles.
Yeah, a lot of these really, really great old shows, and they were kind of the forerunners in this industry in the United States. There was only maybe 2 other companies at that time who were...
Yeah, it was basically U.S. Renditions and Streamline, I think, at that time.
Streamline was the other company. Streamline had some stuff already out, and U.S. Renditions came here, and we didn't know what we were doing back in those days. The first job I ever did was The Guyver with those guys, and we literally recorded in a treehouse.
Seriously?
They found a studio in a treehouse they called a cave because the back of it butted up to a wall of dirt, basically, and they carved out a little cave back there and built a studio. And we had to haul all of our equipment up every day. They rented equipment. They didn't know how to lock video back in those days. And we didn't have time codes like we have now, so we can, and also a beep system. Now we work on this beep system where basically you hear 3 beeps, and then you know rhythmically when you're supposed to begin talking. Back then, all we had was time codes, and sometimes not even that. We relied on the director to tap us on the shoulder when it was our time to speak.
Oh, really?
And it was crazy. It was guerrilla anime making back then.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things I always loved about that company is you just, like, some people might knock the production quality, but I always got the feeling that the people working on it really loved what they were doing.
Yeah, we did our best. I mean, we really did our best. And some of the stuff we went back in and re-recorded later on.
Right.
Fortunately, we had the ability to do that. But yeah, it was pretty rough back then. And we've gotten better throughout the years, thankfully. But that was really one of the first companies that came into this country and tried to do a great job on anime. We were really trying to change the face of anime here. So thank you to Kevin Seymour, and bless his soul wherever he is now, because he was one of the guys who really brought it here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, the big thing this year, there was a huge lineup of musical guests. I could sit here and talk about them with you, but once again, I'd like to take you live to me and the various musical guests at ColossalCon. So one of the big names this year, we actually had Shonen Knife perform. They've been around for a long time, of course, and they actually come to Ohio pretty frequently. But it's pretty cool, they put on a good show. Honestly, I'm surprised my camera's microphone picked them up as well as it did, but hey, it works out. Now here's one I thought I'd never see. This is Jennifer Seehee. She actually did a lot of the songs for the US version of Sailor Moon, so this is a Sailor Moon concert performed by the original artist. Naturally, the front row is packed with Sailor Moon cosplayers. So, pretty short set, but overall really good show, and the room went nuts when she started playing Power of Love. And of course, it wouldn't be ColossalCon without Nerd Rapper 2D6. Always puts on a good show. As you can see, he has a stage technically, but he doesn't really use it. Performs all his songs in the crowd and interacts with the crowd, generally chucks candy at us. Good time. And of course, we got to hear all of his hit songs, like Boba Fett Sucks.
Hey, here's a badge for you to say some words. Boba Fett sucks! Boba Fett likes to poop in your mouth. Boba Fett sucks! Come on!
And of course, who could forget the evergreen classic, Take a Shit on the Dance Floor.
Take a shit on the dance, yeah! I know you want more. Trevor, who's out your back door? Well, I made a little dance.
Yeah, I gotta get this. Now, another really fun thing about the con is a lot of times you'll be going through the hallway and people just set up and start playing stuff. Sometimes it's fans that brought their own instruments, usually playing covers of anime tunes. Here we actually have one of the guests, Symphonic Anime Orchestra, who just decided to set up in the hallway and start playing. I didn't make it to their actual concert, unfortunately, but I saw them playing here and they were actually selling some CDs, so I picked that up. As I said, you just have random people playing in the hallway. We had this woman just start up her violin in the hallway while we were in line for something. I wouldn't be surprised if she was another orchestra member. Now, getting on from that, of course, we have to talk about panels. Went to a whole bunch of them. Only gonna, talk about some highlights. Went to a really interesting panel on the Chrono series of games. Actually, this perfect image right here in the slideshow. I think that sums up everything in terms of the development team. But yeah, one really interesting thing I found out about that, apparently there is a third Chrono game. I forget the specifics, but it was like some weird, like, a very early example of DLC for a Japan-only internet add-on for, I think, the Super Nintendo, or Super Famicom. Crazy goofy. There's, like, only one known physical copy to exist. I think it was going for, like... So, but if you find that, well worth it. But I mean, you're not missing too much. It's more of a text-based adventure game. Of course, with, still images in the background. A lot of the story elements were recycled into Chrono Cross, which is a great game in its own right, of course. But moving on from that, let's see. Oh, yeah, I went to a really interesting one, something I've been thinking about dabbling in for a while now, so I figured I'd check this out. They had an indie game maker doing his own panel on making your own video games. So went over, some of the basics, some tips and tools, and some neat little programs you can use. Very interesting on that. Going along with that, the next day, I believe, was a panel on pixel animation. But it was really interesting because he talked about pixel animation specifically, but also talked about just basic animation techniques in general, so really well put together with that one. Went to a really, really interesting late-night panel about Japanese horror cinema. Of course, the live-action section of it started off with House. So that's... If you want a really trippy Japanese horror movie, watch that. Honestly, it's a really overlooked classic. But went into a few other things I'm not going to go too much into, but there was one really messed up one about these ladies given a serum that turns pain into pleasure. Let's put it this way, they showed us a clip that involved erotic auto-cannibalism. Yeah. But it's actually funny, after the clip, the panelist is like, wow, when I showed this at OhioCon, half the room left. Man, OhioCon's a bunch of pussies. But yeah, a lot of interesting things shown in there, a bunch of, like, crazy cybergoth films. The other big thing is the game room. Or I should say it usually is. The game room this year was kind of, standard stock. But this year they actually had a separate arcade. So if you watched my video last year, the arcade rooms were kind of mixed in and shoved off next to the bounce house in the back. This time, whole room, about half the size of the regular one, but that's still pretty big. Tons of arcade cabinets, like pretty much anything you'd want. Including, they had a Darius Burst EX machine. Just, oh my god, playing that thing, especially when you have 3 other people in there, was amazing. But, once again, instead of just standing around here blabbing at you, let's take a look.
Alright, walking into the arcade here. Pretty packed, but... So, this was pretty nice. They actually had, an arcade set aside from the main game room. Here we see people lined up. They had that, table flip game. I'll put a link to a video all about that, but it's, pretty fun. Here we see people not knowing how to clog a hallway. That's sadly all too common. Anyway, walking over here, you see some of the candy machines we saw before. So let's see, it's Virtua Fighter, I think, some Street Fighter. What we got here? Marvel vs. Capcom, or actually I think that might have been Tekken back there, by the way. Marvel vs. Capcom, Street Fighter 3 of all things. More Street Fighter. Yeah, over here, you know, we have all the nice shmups. That one's pretty cool, actually. You're riding around on dragons. That machine right there in the center, it's like something out of right up Justin's alley. You basically reveal pictures of scantily clad anime girls. And, of course, we have Windjammers. Can't not have that. So, moving over here, they actually put together a pachinko parlor. This was pretty neat. Got to try it myself. That really bright one there is actually an Ava-themed machine. It's a pretty nice one. Kind of falls under the category of it would be cool if it didn't suck, but whatever. The machine itself was nice, though. Like I said, I did get to play this. That sort of turquoise and purple machine on the end there was the one I used. Didn't win anything, but it was still pretty fun. Basically just kept winning a bunch of small things, not enough to really add up to anything. And over there to the right you saw me passing was where you could turn your balls in for prizes. But yeah, over here you can get a sense of how big this area is, just, you know, wall-to-wall cabinets and whatnot. Oh yeah, and I did make sure to get some footage of some people playing Beatmania, so that turned out pretty good. Pretty crazy game. I suck at it. I'm horrible at rhythm games, just letting you guys know. Some more rhythm games over here. That cube game over there, that one's actually pretty fun. I actually didn't even know until this year that's actually a versus game, so it's 4 people going up against each other. This game's pretty cool. I got to play this a bit. It's exactly what it looks like. I mean, you can tell exactly how it's played from watching this. So it gets pretty crazy on some of the higher difficulties. Apparently you can select the background music, but it didn't really matter in this loud environment. Some more rhythm games. And more people not knowing how to clog a hallway. This is that Darius Burst game I talked about. Oh my god, just look at that. Look at that. I need this in my living room. Yeah, this gets pretty crazy there. Oh, and they had the newest Initial D racing games actually set up for 2-player versus. I didn't get a chance to try that, but it looked pretty fun. I mean, I'm terrible at racing games, but whatever. And of course, it wouldn't be an arcade at a con without a DDR machine. Or 5.
So yeah, I spent more than a little time in the arcade, but moving on from that, of course, ColossalCon is like my one vacation out of the whole year. And what would an experience of me sitting down talking to you about my vacation be like if I didn't submit you to a drawn-out slideshow?
Alright, might as well start things off with the cosplay pics. So, of course, with the popularity of Sailor Moon Crystal and Jennifer Seehee being a guest, there were naturally 1,000,001 Sailor Moon cosplayers. So, snapped a couple shots of a few of them. Even see some photobombing some other pictures I have. But, yeah, the halls were pretty well crawling with them. And going down the line of the usual suspects, we of course have some Dragon Ball Z cosplayers. Master Roshi, I think he was here last year. A couple of Bulmas. Someone actually had the balls to cosplay Saiyaman. Pretty good Krillin and Android 18, don't see that too often. I love this guy here, just the degree of homemade his costume is, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. Then this couple right here is actually husband, wife, and their son cosplaying as Chi-Chi, Goku, and Gohan, so that worked out pretty good. And as always, the Nintendo cosplayers were out in full force. Mario and Waluigi tennis versions. Got some more Wario, Waluigi stuff going on. Toads and Toadettes. Actually really like this one right here. And then, of course, you know, we have Luigi and Peach with a little Mac by them. One thing I really liked with a lot of the Nintendo stuff is there was tons of Rosalinas out there. Easily my favorite Mario princess, and one that doesn't get enough love, so it's good to see that. This one right here, I love not just this cosplay, but this picture. Between the expression on this Luigi's face and the lighting in the picture, all I can think of is Mushroom Kingdom Massacre.
Hurry, he's right outside the door.
All circuits are busy. Please hold for the next available toadstool.
So sorry, Mario. We've got to get to the pipes.
It's a me!
Mario.
So yeah, that just happened. Anyway, getting back on track, as always, there were a ton of Legend of Zelda cosplayers. Really nice Dark Link, don't see that too much. I love the detail on this Zelda costume. And of course, you know, it's the Kalahari, so there's always, you know... Actually, this is a rather tasteful swimsuit version, I have to say. Group of links. Here we have a really interesting take on a Skull Kid, rather like that one. This one is casual / bro Link, a modern-ish take on Saria with a fairly accurate Skyward Sword Zelda, so running the gamut there. Two really nice ones here, very good Saria and Melan, especially like the Saria, that's dead on. And, I'm sorry, when I see this picture I can't help but think of the American Zelda cartoon.
Saved you, princess! Kiss me!
And of course, you know, we have some Fire Emblem stuff, pretty badass looking Ike here. Really nice Lucina, and I believe her name is pronounced Tharja. And gotta have your Samuses. This is only a couple of them, there's like 4 or 5 of them at least. This guy's awesome, one of the security guys is actually doing a King Hippo cosplay. This one's really nice. Of course, there were a few Splatoon cosplayers, you know, with the game just coming out, but this one I thought was excellent, sort of dead on. And this last one, this is amazing right here. This is easily the most hardcore Ness I've seen. Like, damn, dude. Now, these next ones I want to give a huge shout-out to for representing old school. First, we have Alum and Ray. I never see anyone cosplaying Ray, and it's always good to see Alum cosplayer. And these next two, ladies, you are freaking awesome. I have not seen Kei and Yuri cosplayers in forever and a half. Actually, it's funny, later that evening after I took this picture, I saw the two of them more or less leading a conga line with giant fruity drinks going, woo, yeah! So I thought to myself, well, that's in character. But yes, thank you so much for showing up, seriously. And as usual, there are a bunch of superhero costumes, so, you know, got Captain America here. 1,000,001 Deadpools, all gallivanting around the hallways doing crazy stuff. This is just one I have a picture of. A bunch of Jokers, including a Scottish pirate Joker. I mean, I don't really read the comics, so maybe I'm missing something, but whatever. This really nice Arkham Knight Batman costume with, you know, full glowing eyes and everything. That one's pretty sweet. Some Avengers cosplays. I really liked how the Ultron turned out in that one. And then we have this really nice group of Spider-Man cosplayers with Venom, Carnage, and Scream. I had to look that last one up. But yeah, my cousin took this one, and honestly, his sentiments are the same as mine. I'm not big into Spider-Man, but he'd have been foolish to not take this picture, because, I mean, seriously, look at that. As ever, there are a bunch of Miyazaki Studio Ghibli cosplayers, whole bunch of Sans this year, and a fairly good Ashitaka there as well. Your requisite gaggle of Kikis. Actually, talking about representing old school, really surprised to see this Nausicaa there. There were a couple of them. I like this one because you actually had the little, god, the squirrel thing, I forget its name. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a con without Monster Show cosplayers. Some surprisingly good Digimon costumes, including this one. Of course, you got your standard Pokemon cosplays. Pretty cool Cubone one right here. And one that I really feel the need to show you, this guy right here. Now, I know what we're all thinking, but I want to point out why this is actually alright. And I even talked with him about this, and he said, yeah, this was basically my intention. See, rather than committing the atrocity that is Sailor Bubba or Man-Fae, he decided, okay, this is what Misty would look like as a guy, rather than just him walking around in booty shorts. So, not what I would have done, but props to you for having the right attitude about it. Moving on, though, there were several Fallout cosplayers there. Nice one with the NCR armor. And these two Vault Dwellers, I actually talked with them for a bit. They showed me their homemade Pip-Boys, so those were pretty cool. And, you know, usually have a bunch of Borderlands cosplayers, like this group who are wheeling around their Claptrap the whole weekend. And then there's this guy. Now, he wasn't by any means the only one to do this, but I just love the markered-in abs, because all I think is that one Strong Bad email.
Introducing the all-new Strong Bad Ab ABBA 2000. It results like the professionals in minutes, nay, seconds. Just listen to this guy over here. Since using Strong Bad's Ab ABBA 2000, the ladies have been all up-ons. All up-ons? I don't even know what that means.
Well, Strong said, it means they really like you.
But they don't. Especially now with all this Sharpie on my stomach.
Just read the lines, man.
So, gonna wrap up the cosplay section of this now. Some Mortal Kombat cosplayers, more than a few, probably more than a little to do with the newest one. Bunch of RWBY cosplayers. Some Star Wars cosplayers there always are. I was really surprised to see this nice Lando Calrissian, though. Let's see what else is cool here. I really don't care about Yu-Gi-Oh! That much, but this was a really cool Merrick. Got some Team Fortress 2 guys, Sergeant Frog, really nice Morrigan here. Of course, we have Leon Kennedy. I see this guy everywhere. Pretty good Tira, Space Ghost, Wednesday Addams, kind of surprised to see that. Of course, you know, you got your Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit cosplayers. Really like that Thorin. Miyu, again, representing old school. Don't see a lot of Miyu cosplayers anymore. Kenshin, I have no idea what this chick is, but girl with a giant cannon thing, so hey, I'm on board. Really surprised to see some Hocus Pocus cosplayers. I mean, that's actually pretty good right there. Of course, you have Duffman! Silent Hill 3, pretty good Faye Valentine. Pretty good Leela. Then, of course, we have, well, Girl Ash that I saw last year. It's in my video with her friend who was cosplaying Barry. Actually, oddly spent about 5 minutes joking about Jill sandwiches. Some really nice Final Fantasy cosplays. Pretty good Ultimecia, and I love that Kefka. That was really dead on. Really nice Bayonetta. We have a Warhammer 40k Tech Priest. Oh, that was pretty awesome. We got Miyamoto Usagi. I was really surprised to see that. That's pretty good. Mishmash here. We have a Fallout New Vegas cosplay. Faith from Mirror's Edge and an N7 officer. And of course, where else can you say I found Waldo and Jesus in the same day? And I'll just leave you with this image of a Mad Max cosplayer selling Fist of the North Star action figures. This man knows what's up. And now to wrap everything up, here's just some random crap. So, as I said earlier in the video, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on around. Here we see some con-goers just doing an impromptu gaming session in the hallway. I didn't go to the rave much, but my cousin went and took some cool pictures. It turns out that during the whole thing they were showing a bunch of old anime, you know, Guyver and whatnot. So that was pretty cool. And here's some pictures of us. As before, my buddy working Reg, all weekend, every day, mostly every hour of it. My friends Rack and Misa, much the same for them. You know, they still had plenty of time to go around the con, but they were working security for most of that. Besides, Misa looked like this most of the time anyway, so you could pretty much tell when she was on and off the clock. Then, of course, you have, as I said, I have my little cousins with me and their friend. Here's us together. Most any time at least I ran across them, they were loafing around doing something, or just, you know, chilling. But to each their own. But yeah, that pretty much does it for this year.
So that about does it for that. It's always a great time down there, and I hope to see some of you down there next year as, you know, God permitting, we will be actually doing some panels and other things this year, this coming year. As I'm sure most of our regular viewers are aware, my computer went down for a few months, and I was dealing with that right around when I would have been putting together panels for the upcoming con. But we're on it. Going to be doing some stuff, going to be submitting some panels and other activities, so be sure to check that out. And for those of you who've been, you know, following my channel, you know, been kind of a little late on the upcoming episode, a lot of crazy stuff going on in my personal life, but rest assured, episode 20 as well as several other videos are filmed and currently in editing, so you will not have to wait long for those. But as always, thanks for watching. This is Mike saying, enjoy what you watch and share what you enjoy.
Some cons are really scary and people say weird things and smell funny. And then some of the cons are kind of fun and they like the music. I had a heckler. I dealt with the heckler quite well. And he apologized to me and that was pretty cool.
It's a blast from the past, 2000 AD. About to cast a die to those that raised me and ask, could I maybe go to a convention? Thought they'd be aghast, but you have our attention. I mentioned anime's my only interest, and I can meet some of my friends from the internet. And though there ain't a reason I can finger best, just yell, please say either win or yes. Did you just say yes? Yes! 15 years old in Baltimore, eating up on the sights like an Ultra 4. Walks through the door, it's not my fault. The floor's where my job lay. Cosplay's all the more impressive when you compare the shit in my hair to the wigs that they wear. Now I'm getting there, cause this is such a good time. Now I'm wondering if I'll ever have this much fun again. Maybe I'll never have this much fun again. Maybe I'll never have this much fun again. I've been going to cons since I was like 15. I've seen a lot of shit that please scared and miss me. They're nifty, but I won't pay them fees, cause now I'm a nerd rapper that gets it free. Yeah, I've been going to cons since I was like 15. I've seen a lot of shit that please scared and miss me. They're nifty, but I won't pay them fees, cause now I'm a nerd rapper that gets it free. Gears fly past like Wally West, whether I stayed a geek or not should be obvious. The title is the answer, eponymous, synonymous with agreement. The honestest truth is this: once you're a nerd, you're never not. I said once you're a nerd, you're never ever not. Once you're a nerd, you're never ever not. I said once you're a nerd, you're never ever not.
I tell you, I like conventions because there's a lot of things and a lot of people that have, you know, there's a lot of mutual interests and a lot of people who share mutual interests. So there's never no one to talk to. It's definitely a cool shindig.
15 years later, yes, I recognize the symmetry. Still go into every single con in my vicinity because these people getting me to like the power of infinity. I reach inside and touch my fucking energy. And here is what he said to me: be a nerd rapper. Go to every con you can to hear mad laughter and feel bad after you leave one. Homeboy, never quench your spark like your Leo Tolstoy. Bring entertainment to where all the masses congregate and make this swift gapless playback and say act enriched with friendship. Meet 100 new friends at each event.